All right, so you've opted to go with a fake quote instead of a meme. Now, really, what you're doing is ultimately the same thing, but the design of the layout is going to be just a little bit different. So let's go ahead and go through this. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I don't know if it's totally necessary, but let's go ahead and zoom out. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the zoom button here, and let's just go to our canvas, and when you click once, you zoom in. But if you do the two-finger tap or the snake bite, you actually zoom out. So there we go. I got a little bit better view here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image that I've pulled from the internet, George Washington here. I'm going to move it all the way off to one side. You can, align it left. You can align it right. You can see that it actually gives you those red lines. We know your alignment is correct, and that leaves you this space over on here. Now, what you're going to want to do on the side here is you're going to change the background color. You can choose a solid color like black. You can go with maybe something not quite as drastic. And you can also do a gradient as well. This is a new feature to Google Drawing. So that's something that kind of gives it kind of evens out the tones a little bit, not something quite so drastic. So there we are. I think I'm ultimately going to choose to align it here on the left. So we've got our image, we've got our space here on the side. Now it's time for us to add some kind of fake quote. So all we have to do is go up here. We're going to create our text box in our space. Okay, and by default, your font and colors and everything else are going to be up here. It's going to be Arial, size 14, black text, and it's left aligned. So we can change all of those things right now. For something like this, you might want to go with something that's actually a little bit more like a handwritten or cursive script. If there's no fonts in here that look like that, all you have to do is go down in here to more fonts, and there are thousands of fonts for you to choose from. So you can scroll through. Don't get too lost in it, because you could spend hours in here looking at all the different fonts. You can see a list of any fonts that are already on yours that maybe you don't like, and you're like, well, this one here, I'm not a big fan of that, so you can actually remove it from your list, but then add other ones to your list. And there it is. Okay, so you select OK. So let's go back here. I'm going to go with something like this. Let's go zoom in on this text box now. Size 14, you can change the font size depending on how well it fills the space. If it's too large, too small, you can change it. I'll probably ultimately end up going with a white font, I believe, here, and center it. And here we are. Now I can type in my fake quote here. And it would take up a little bit more space. Now, one of the other things that I'm seeing is look how close these two lines together. That's a little bit, they're kind of overlapping, and it's just a little cluttered. So let's go up here to the alignment, select this, and let's go double. And now there's a little bit more space. If that's too much, if your quote is a little bit longer and it's taking up too much space, it looks too spread out, you go to 1.5, and that looks pretty good there. Now there is one last option. If you want to get really fancy, you can actually create a text box here down at the bottom. I'm going to show you a new website. So I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to go to a website called iconfinder.com. Icon Finder is a really awesome free, of course there are subscriptions, but they have a lot of free options for different icons and what we used to call clip art. So I'm going to do something like this. I'm just going to type in the Twitter, look for a Twitter icon. see if we can get this page to load. There we are. And now here are all the different options to choose from for a Twitter icon. Some of them are premium, which means you have to pay for them, and that obviously isn't going to be the case. Just look for the ones that are free, something like this, or something like this. Okay, now you can choose a different size. You can choose one that's really small, one that's really large. I would go with something just kind of in the middle. And all you have to do is click, hold down, and drag up to this other tab. And there we are. And what I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to give George Washington a fake handle. So let's just switch this over to white. And I'm going to say at the OG, the original POTUS, or President of the United States. That's kind of the handle that presidents are using these days. This icon's way too big. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. This icon is way too big, so what I'm going to do is scale this down so it kind of matches the same size. And once it's all center aligned, that red line pops up, and that could do something like that. So here's what we can do. Let's go back to full screen. Of course, not just a Twitter handle. We should also just go ahead and add just a line like this. Okay, and there is basically the outline of a fake quote. So that's an option as well.